Welcome filmmakers, fans, and friends to Indie Cinema Showcase. I'm your host, Christina Carmona. Matt and Allison are on vacation for now, so I will bring you the best and brightest in local independent cinema. On today's show, we welcome actor and producer Chris Greene and talk with him about his new web series, The Other Side. We will also take a look at 386 Films' newest trailer, The Guy Knows Everything. And later on, we'll stop by the set of Rockabilly Zombie Weekend to check out some really cool zombies. Let's get things started with our Show Us Your Shorts film. This one is about a college student's perception of the people around him, which quickly becomes twisted by an unforeseen force. Based on a true event, the film is called The Semester of Madness and is directed by Gabriel Rhenals. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, Max, when you're ready.
At the start of the semester, I was a normal, healthy, young college student like any other. I had many friends and my professors considered me bright and mature. But I was under a lot of stress at the time. I had difficulty paying for college. I couldn't get any student loans approved. And it didn't help that I couldn't find a job.
What kind of work were you looking for?
Anything. I looked everywhere. On top of that, I was constantly missing deadlines in my writing classes. While my fellow classmates were turning in final drafts, I was still trying to figure out what to write about.
You were in the creative writing program, right?
Yes, at the time I was in the limited access creative writing program. In order to get in, you had to submit a portfolio for review, and only about 30 students out of hundreds were accepted each year. But back to what I was saying, I was coming up with plenty of ideas though.
Then what was the problem?
The problem was that I wanted to come up with something significantly better than what I had done the last semester. I wanted to do something revolutionary and I didn't want to disappoint anyone. So I spent days and nights alone in the library trying to come up with the perfect original idea. Another issue that added to my stress was my preoccupation with creating a student-run creative writing publication that any student would be able to contribute to. Unfortunately, no one supported the idea, so I had to do all of the work on my own. Something else which affected me was when I asked a professor if she'd give me some feedback on my work. She agreed and was very kind and thoughtful in her feedback, but she ultimately left me with the feeling that I was stealing another author's, a famous author's, style and ideas. Then a few weeks into the semester, I began to feel different.
How so?
It's difficult to explain, and I don't know exactly why I began to feel this way. Maybe it was the stress, the financial issues, the workload, the professor's review, or some gestating problem I wasn't even aware of. But something triggered a chemical imbalance in my brain that, propelled me into something I've never experienced before in my entire life. I began to feel like I was an imposter with no original identity, like I was an alien stuck between worlds, like I had a dark core inside me capable of unspeakable evil. But I didn't tell anyone any of this, at least not until it was too late. I also began to get the feeling that my classmates, friends, and professors were secretly referring to me and my work and the things they said and did.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. One time a friend let me read a short story he was working on. The strange thing was that I thought he had based his short story on me. I thought it was an allegory of my life. Another example, at the end of class one day, the professor gave some advice to all the students, something about being accountable to yourself. I was completely convinced he had gotten that particular piece of advice from one of my short stories. Something else happened. I began to see my college as being more like a church, with few intelligent creative leaders and a huge cult of dogmatic, narrow-minded followers. I saw myself as one of the few leaders because despite the more troubling ideas I had about myself, I truly believed I was the greatest writer in the world. However, more and more I got the feeling I was being excluded from the student groups I was a member of. I felt like they were ridiculing me behind my back, but it didn't matter to me. I saw them as sheep anyway, mindless, so I stopped attending their meetings. But soon another really odd thing occurred. Almost all social interactions I observed began to appear deceptive to me, sort of sadistic at times, driven by the naked forces of power and control. Then one day in between classes, my unusual perception turned on me and I got the dreaded feeling that I was being stalked and that certain random students wanted to do harm to me, to destroy me. And soon enough, it all became too much for me to handle.
Max, what's up?
You're following me.
Oh, who's following you?
Some students, they want to destroy me.
What? Max, I don't
I'm not who you think I am. Been lying. Been lying to everyone.
Max, what are you talking about?
I don't know what to do. I never felt more scared in my entire life. I told my friend that I was an imposter, that there was a dark core inside me and other unusual things. I eventually calmed down, but I still had these bizarre notions in my mind.
Hey Max, why don't you go home and sleep it off? I'll tell farmers that you wouldn't feel well.
I returned home embarrassed and afraid.
So was that it? Did you get help after that?
No, this was just the beginning. When I woke up the next afternoon, all of the anxiety and fear from the day before was gone. I felt calm, at peace. But on the television, the programs and commercials seemed like they were referencing me. I switched on the news and I thought I was influencing world events. The same thing happened on the internet. The articles on the websites I usually visited seemed to be all about me, as if the writers knew who I was.
And you didn't sense anything was wrong?
No, I was completely convinced that I was the center of everyone's attention. Anyway, so I finally got around to checking my email and saw that the college's writing club was having a meeting in Wayne Hall. I thought that my favorite authors would be there to present me with some sort of award and recognition for my writing. The meeting had already started by the time I got the email, but I decided it didn't matter if I was late. I was their guest of honor. On the way to campus, I got the feeling that I was being guided to the college by the cars around me. I thought that a committee of my favorite authors was controlling traffic to make sure I arrived safely on campus. When I got on campus, I thought that the random students I saw were in fact paid actors, paid by that same committee of authors. This was done to, I imagine, to make the college seem busy even though it had been evacuated earlier, in preparation for my arrival. I got to Wayne Hall where I thought everyone would be waiting for me. But there was no one there. The meeting had ended. There were no high-profile authors. There was no award or recognition. I was despondent and thought something was off. So I went to the library, my usual place of solitude. I noticed a student look in my direction. I thought he was spying on me. So I walked over to him and asked to see his student ID. I wanted to see if he was really a student. He was confused, but he showed me his ID. He was a real student. I then got the feeling that it was a setup. There was no committee of esteemed authors looking out for me. The campus hadn't been evacuated. Instead, I got the feeling that a mob of angry people was after me, to destroy me, and that this mob was allied with the police.
Why was this mob after you?
I figured they were after me because of my political beliefs. I had written an anti-war poem that got published in our school newspaper, the South Florida Future, earlier in the semester. As I left the library, I began to think that there were police snipers on the rooftops of the campus buildings ready to take me out at a moment's notice. I quickly made my way off campus. On my way to the parking lot, I ran into a friend. Believing that I was going to be killed soon, I told my friend that I didn't have long and that whatever happened, that I was here. So at least someone would know where I had been in case I was murdered shortly in secret. He was confused, but I didn't let him in on what I thought was happening to me. I sort of felt he was in on the plot of my execution, so I soon left. I made it to my car and decided to go home, the safest place I thought I could be. But I thought I'd be followed, so I took a longer than usual route back to my house, making some stops at various places along the way to make sure I wasn't being followed. I finally arrived home. When inside, I looked out the front windows to see if anyone had followed me. I then noticed some suspicious-looking vehicles parked in my neighbors' driveways. I thought they belonged to the members of the mob. On the television and on the internet, the programming and content was still referring to me, except now the television and internet seemed to be cryptically communicating the plans of this angry mob. I got the idea that this mob was going to come to my home to torture me and kill the members of my family, and they would torture me for 1,000 years, slowly and painfully. Then, they would take my exhausted brain and place it atop a robotic body and have it play football with other robot football players for an eternity as I was cheered on by the mob's descendants in crowded stadiums. In the face of these revelations, I decided that the only way to escape this inevitable fate was to end my life. So I grabbed the nearest knife, headed to my room, and proceeded to slit my wrist open to try and bleed myself to death. The process was briefly painful, but it became easier by the second cut. However, I soon realized that slitting my wrist open didn't seem to be working fast enough, so I stabbed my chest twice in an attempt to puncture my heart. I did not succeed in killing myself, and my mother soon found me in my pathetic state. I am the Antichrist. She called 911 and the emergency services arrived. I was airlifted to the local trauma center. After they repaired my arms and chest, I was interned at a nearby mental health hospital. I was there for 2 weeks.
So what was this? What was your diagnosis?
Schizophrenia.
Now, did your regular thinking, the...
Delusions and paranoia?
Yes, did the delusions and paranoia go away after that?
Yes, thankfully with the antipsychotic medication I was put on, they went away rather quickly and my brain returned to its normal functioning.
Are you still on the antipsychotic medication?
Yes, I take it daily to prevent a future relapse.
You mentioned you were a normal, healthy person at the start of the semester?
Yes.
Were you doing any kind of drugs at the time that could have caused this?
No, I wasn't on any drugs at the time and I've never done any drugs.
Is there any history of this kind of mental illness in your family?
No, no history.
That's interesting. Tell me, what have you learned from this rather unusual and frankly terrifying experience?
Well, I've learned that schizophrenia is one bastard of an illness.
Well put. And with that, I think I've got everything I need. I think this is going to make one hell of a story for the South Florida Future.
I'm glad.
Thank you for your time, Max.
Thank you.
By the way, one more thing. Do you mind if I see your scars from the suicide attempt?
Sure.
Jesus.
Once again, that was Semester of Madness, directed by Gabriel Rhenals. With each episode, we like to give our own thoughts from the popcorn gallery and offer feedback about the films we showcase. To help us with this, we've invited some industry guests who've worked in the field. Not long ago, I sat down with our panel in the ICS viewing room. Here's what they thought about Semester of Madness. Hey everyone, I'm at the lovely Enzion Theater in Maitland, and joining me on the panel, we have Jimmy Dempster and Fran Rafferty. We've just watched Semester of Madness. So, first off, this was based off of true events. What did you think, Jimmy?
I thought it was pretty cool. The only thing I wish, like I said, I would have loved to have seen happen more a little bit was, like I said, the voiceover. That started off and just kind of seemed to go really, really fast. I would have loved to have seen where that character could have gone had he started off a little bit slower and then started to lose it a little more toward the end.
Yeah, because there was so much in that character, too. He changes drastically. He was normal into being someone with schizophrenia. And
yeah, I agree with Jimmy on that one. It just felt like the script was force-fed throughout the entire movie. And it just seemed that the actors didn't have a chance to actually portray any kind of emotional context. So that's just the acting side. Now, looking at the edit too, I guess, the edit was, I guess, not too bad, considering it was only 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they had a short time to work with. But the plot was going somewhere. They had some content that was pretty strong. It just felt like the actors weren't, I would say, committed to it.
there was a disconnect.
There was a disconnect.
Yeah, there's a disconnect.
Yeah, I agree with him too as well on that. I really would have liked to maybe seen it a little bigger, maybe another 5-10 minutes possibly, just to see where that could have gone.
But that's also a good thing, too, when you want to see
Absolutely.
more, you know what I mean? Especially with the fact that it was a true event. I think that, you know, it's a look inside something that we're like, oh, you know, there's a lot of things that happen and we don't understand. So that, I think, was a good, you know, cool aspect of it. And it takes some kind of bravery to talk about, you know, it's always kind of strange, you know, wrists and chest.
Yeah, when you see those things, they kind of freak you out. You know?
Yeah.
But for me, that was the part of the movie that actually made me stop, and that got my attention. Like the first 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. We're gonna see something here.
And we got that, and it was like, wow, that's real, and people do that, but, you know. Anyway, unfortunately, guys, that is a wrap. Thank you for joining me today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right. To learn more about Gabriel Rhenals, please visit GR Short Films page on YouTube. When we come back from the break, we'll be talking with actor and producer Chris Greene and checking out 386 Films' latest trailer, so stick around.
If you would like to be a guest, have something to promote, or have your film featured on our show, please visit our website, IndieCinemaShowcase.com, and download the release form, or email us at icstv@yahoo.com.
Welcome back to ICS. Our next guest has been acting for nearly 10 years. He has appeared in over 25 films, including Witness, The Couch, and Quite a Conundrum. With his new project, The Other Side, he takes on 3 roles: actor, producer, and co-director. For this episode's Industry Inside segment, we are very happy to have Chris Greene. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, tell me, how did you get into the world of acting?
I actually got bit by the bug being an extra on set. I was in North Carolina at the time. I was going to Winston-Salem State for music. I actually had a scholarship for that. Excuse me. And North Carolina School of Arts is probably about a block away from there, and they're a really well-known school for their drama department and, you know, performance and everything like that. And a buddy of mine at the time was going there, and he called me and he said, "Hey, I need somebody to bring with me to be an extra on set. You'll be there. It's going to be fun. Have food and drinks." And I'm thinking, oh, okay, whatever. You know, I get to go hang out and kind of see some movie stuff. And as soon as I got on set, I was just instantly bitten by the acting bug to see how everybody created everything, the way they dressed the set, because they had a picture of it before, this place they rented out, completely empty. You walked in there, it was like a nightclub had been there for months. And once I saw that, I was kind of like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. And so from there, just went into going to seminars, going in training, just being on as many sets as I could, and as an extra, and picking people's brain and learning more about the industry and studying and watching more movies. Because up until that point, I'd always been a fan of movies, but I never really watched as many exactly until going into that. And pretty much that was the genesis of it 2 years ago.
Yeah. As a filmmaker, though, is it beneficial to watch movies and just really watch how the actors...
Oh, absolutely. I genuinely think so. In my opinion, it's good because you get to... Essentially, being on a film set is really free training. It's basically going to film school for free, because you have so many people, cast and crew, that have gone to different film schools around the country. Some cases, if you're lucky to be on a big enough set, around the world. And to learn the different ways that they've trained and different methods, it allows you to kind of pick up and incorporate it with what you've learned, and then that way you take it to the next film set. It's essentially like, like being in any other job in the field. Like if you're a doctor, obviously you'll want to go and watch as many procedures or watch, as many shows about that stuff because it's familiar to you, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I never thought about that. Let me research that. So it was fun to work with a lot of different people, and it is a very huge benefit watching the movies, especially like the commentaries and stuff. I'm a big fan. I would actually watch that before I watch the movie. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially sometimes you're like, that's how they did it?
Yeah.
And it almost kind of breaks you, but then you're like, you think about it, you're like, that's amazing.
Exactly. I mean, it's all about being creative. I mean, if you necessarily don't have the funds to do something, the end result is what you want. And you basically find a way to get there no matter how you get there. I mean, it's really no right way, in my opinion, to do it, as long as you put your heart and your soul into it, you put your creativity into it, and you get the end result, and that's what it's about.
So now that you have your production company, there's the funding thing. That's the big thing for everyone, the funding. So how do you feel about Kickstarter, Indiegogo?
First of all, those sites are great. The fact that you have a website, and as we all know, everything is technology-based now, social media and streaming and all that stuff. So to have those sites that are dedicated to somebody who, needs to raise money for their project is awesome, because not only does it give you advertising and to showcase the world, this is what I'm working on, it gives them a chance to be a part of it, which back in the day, old school, it was like you had to go knock on producers' doors or investors' doors and be like, hey, please, 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 believe in me. And now it's you have a chance to reach people on a mass scale. So I think those sites are very good. You definitely still have to do your research, though. You have to make yourself stand apart. And I think that's where, like I said before, being focused pays off, because you don't want to just put something on Indiegogo or Kickstarter and it not be something that stands out. Because there's hundreds of thousands of filmmakers doing the same thing. So it's like, okay.
What makes you different?
Exactly. Why should somebody come out of their pocket and give you money?
And plus, you get to give them some fun stuff.
Exactly.
That's
you
cool.
have to. You have to.
Give out the swag.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's why, people, that's part of the incentive. It's like, oh, I get this autograph thing, or, oh, I get the preview first before.
My name goes on the credits.
Exactly. And
cool.
they feel it's that exclusivity. I'm a part of this project, you know what I mean? And not everybody can say that. So you definitely want to offer some good incentives. Don't tell them, hey, I'm going to give you a high five. I mean, that's kind of not going to, you know what I mean? You want to give them something worth their while. So. Great.
So you're acting, co-directing, producing, the other side. Tell us about that.
Man, that project was actually almost 2 years in the making. I met with some great actors. I've been in Florida for about almost 4 years now. And Roy Williams, who's one of the other actors in there, and then Jay Benedict Larmore, who's also the other starring actor in there. I met these guys. I've known them for about 2 years now, roughly around 2 years, and been following their work, and they're great guys, good guys, and they have the same type of passion that I have for this industry. And so we all went out to dinner one day, and I kind of dropped it on them. I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to kind of do a series? And the three of us is just kind of co-leads, but we're not friends, you know what I mean? We're kind of at each other. I was like, because obviously we're friends outside of filming. And they loved the idea. They loved the challenge. So I sat down, I kind of studied a lot of web series, a lot of shows, and just seeing what made people gravitate towards a drama series. And once I felt like, it was ready, I was like, all right, guys, it's time to get cracking. It's time to get this thing started. And basically, we just kind of called in some favors, pulled in some resources, and
Hey, remember when I did
Other
that
Side
for
Was
you?
Born, exactly.
Yeah.
The Other Side Was Born. It's a dramatic series about three guys, three different social statuses, three different ethnicities, but the one underlining thing they have in common is that they want to provide for their families. And I think that's a strong thing, especially nowadays, because especially the way the economy is and kind of the morale. People, they have to have something to boost themselves up, and family is usually the one thing that's always going to be there, support family and friends. And so I wanted to kind of touch base on that. And the series is, I've stolen a little bit of elements from certain shows like Sopranos and The Wire. And
but that's okay, because typically everything has already been done. You just have to find a new way to do it.
Absolutely. So it's kind of like a merge. It's almost like taking, grandma's recipe, and then it's just like, maybe if I add a little bit of salt.
A little hot sauce.
Yeah, it might spruce it up a little bit. Might spruce it up a little bit. And so that's what it is. And I consider it paying homage to these shows, because they've had a big impact on me just watching these shows, and those shows are very, very real almost. Even though the concept, the characters, they're kind of the bad guys, or not the typical good guys, so to say, but they're grounded in reality, and you root for them, because it's like some of the things they're doing I don't condone, but I understand why they're doing them. It's because the ultimate goal is to make sure their family's taken care of. So that's what we're setting out to do, and we've gotten good response from the poster and the promos we put up.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's looking pretty good. I'm excited.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
No
I am
problem.
really excited about this project. I can't wait to check it out.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
To keep in touch with Chris, visit his website at detourentertainmentproductions.com or his Indiegogo page at indiegogo.com/TOS. As Chris heads back to the other side, we'll be taking a break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we will check out the latest trailer from 386 Films and stop by the set of Rockabilly Zombie Weekend, so stay tuned.
If you would like to be a guest, have something to promote, or have your film featured on our show, please visit our website, IndieCinemaShowcase.com, and download the release form, or email us at icstv@yahoo.com.
Welcome back to Indie Cinema Showcase. When a group of friends face off in a game of trivia, a stranger with a taste for whiskey, played by ex-Puddle of Mud guitarist and newcomer Paul Phillips, decides to join in. Their night of fun takes a turn when the stranger ups the stakes with his unending well of knowledge. For this episode's feature, we bring you 386 Films, The Guy Knows Everything.
Who the hell asked you?
I'm sorry. Couldn't help it. Your questions are just so easy. Easy.
Hey, there's no way that you're taking this pot, pal. Yeah, he's right. You didn't put any money in, so he ain't taking money out.
It's not your money that interests me. It's the game.
The game?
That's right. The game.
Hey, guy. You don't even know how the game is played.
Just let me make this a little more exciting. Raise the stakes a bit. Up the ante. Here's how it works. $10 a question. If I get the question right, we go to the next question. The pie continues to grow. If I get the question wrong, you get the pie. Plus my $400. We'll play till, I don't know, say midnight. No one's meet me by then? Pot's all mine. What do you say? Want to play? And the game begins.
Now for our final segment, On Location with ICS. Today we visit the set of a new horror film based in Central Florida called Rockabilly Zombie Weekend. Keep your machete close, because as Max Brooks says, blades don't need reloading.
In darkness you will find me. I dance among the dead. But very soon I'll need to hunt the scent of blood instead. Rising from your earthen bed, it thickens in the air. A smell gone sweetly rancid. I know that you are near.
I actually was working in holistic medicine, hence the coat, and got frustrated with my work and decided that I was going to do some writing, and did some writing and was encouraged by some friends in my writers group to do a horror movie. So I wrote Rockabilly Zombie Weekend as my first horror film and decided to produce it right after I wrote it. We actually went ahead and did a primary fundraiser at Will's Pub down in Orlando, and we put together a car show on this Rockabilly Zombie Weekend pageant, having people come out dressed as rockabilly zombies and picking those that actually did the makeup and the hair and the period part best. We did a second round of fundraising at the Central Florida Zoo with some support through Steve Stetler, who helped us out quite a bit, and that went really well. In between all that, we did our Indiegogo piece, and Indiegogo actually came out quite well. Part of our challenge, though, was honestly the fact that with Indiegogo you have to drive people to the site. That's part of your job, your responsibility, and unless you have a very strong network of people that are going to go to the site and donate, it's not going to work out for you, because we had anticipated we would have maybe 50% of our own fan base and then 50% lookers. People would go in, they would see something about rockabilly or something about zombie, and then kind of look on and go, yeah, I'll support that for $5, and that actually didn't happen for us. It was only friends and family, so that was a little disappointing for us. Today we've got behind us our day 14, and what we're doing is we're shooting a scene where Becky, our main character, and Grant, our second main character, our male-female leads, are pulling up to the hospital, pseudo hospital, and they're actually going to be trying to get Grant some care. Our main character's been shot in the ankle, and we're trying to get up here to find out what's going on, but everybody's turning into zombies here at the hospital. That's the first place that people go when they're having a medical emergency, so that's the challenge they face. They're pulling up and there are hordes of zombies on their way, so they're trying to fight their way through. She sees her stepdad actually fighting off zombies to try to help some of the medical staff that are remaining inside the hospital. The zombies that are turning on the inside are trying to get out. Zombies that are turned on the outside are trying to get in. So it's quite a challenge for our main characters that are still human.
Like zombies!
That's all the time we have for this episode of ICS. We want to thank Chris Greene for dropping by, as well as filmmakers Gabriel Rhenals, Joops Fragale, and Mike Long. We hope you learned something new, saw something that you loved, or got inspired to get off your couch and go make a movie of your own. And who knows, it might just be good enough for us to screen on the next Indie Cinema Showcase. Until then, the set is closed, and as they say in the movie business, that's a wrap. See you next time.